Welcome one, welcome all to the Indigo Rose Lounge. I'm your host, Alyce Dylan. I am so happy to have you here. We are all delighted. Me and all my peeps on the other side that I call fairies, just because dead folk is just such a misnomer. So me and all my fairies and your fairies and the fairies of everyone else who comes here energetically. We all welcome you. We're all glad to meet and greet each other. Today we're going to look at love again. I don't think we could discuss it enough. I don't think we could give enough attention to it in our entire lifetime. But it's up again. And so I thought we could take some time to really look at a few misunderstandings about love. Now you see that reaction, that thought that you just had about love, that's the problem. Because society has turned love into Mills and Boon romance novels and Valentine's cards and heart-shaped sweeties or angst and trauma. Goodness, and that's not at all what I'm talking about. I'm talking about love. Love, the essence of all being. Love in itself. Love that children feel for everything. It's so wonderful to spend time with your children and to watch them love. Their natural impulse is to love. Not only you, hopefully, but the dogs and the cats in the environment. And they love their blankie and they love things. My 5-year-old at the moment is deeply committed to loving everything. If I pick something up or he sees something new and he says, "Mommy, what's that?" And I say, "It's XYZ." And he says, "Oh, I love those. I love those." Just through watching children be innocent and beautiful, we understand that our natural trajectory as human beings is to love. We love. As children, we loved. We loved the world. We loved discovering. We loved finding out new things. We loved knowledge and adventure. We loved our blankies. We loved our dogs and our cats. We loved nature. And if we had continued that trajectory, naturally, without the influence of agendas and nonsense, we would love our neighbors naturally. We would love our communities organically. We would love. Sure, there would be people that would piss us off. And so perhaps we would have some reservations, but we would love. And as human beings, as indigo adults, we understand that better than anybody because our natural impulse is to love because we are in touch with our spirit selves in every moment of every day. And our spirit tells us to love. Our spirit loves. And it's only when we, as we're growing, it's only in our disconnection from our spirit that flow discontinues, that we stop loving. And we can go into why that happens, fluoride in the toothpaste, and that's a real thing, by the way. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. Fluoride calcifies the pineal gland. The pineal gland is the highest frequency organ in the body. This highest frequency organ in the body is as close as any of the rest of our physical being to our spirit self, which is at a higher frequency. So if we calcify our pineal glands, we will not be able to connect with our spirit selves or higher selves. And though children are really connected, they're really connected to their spirit selves, especially indigo children. They're just not disconnected at all. There's a very clear connection there. And love is their natural impulse, and it was ours. I remember as a child, love was my natural impulse. Of course, life taught me, maybe not, maybe this shouldn't be this way, maybe don't, maybe curb it here. And soon, as you're growing, you start to temper your connection with love. So, and it's only in our teenage years when the hormones start that love becomes something different, that love becomes enmeshed into the biological imperative to continue the species and so on. But love in itself is still a very separate thing. Love, we can still experience love outside of the romantic or biological or sexual impulse. Love still exists in and of its own self. And if we zoom out and we look at the whole, and we understand source as the divine and divine as source or the universe, and they're the words you're comfortable with, if we can see that source as love, and we understand that love is the very impulse that holds the atoms together, then we understand that the natural world is immersed in love. And so we understand that when we sit in love, when we immerse ourselves in love, that is the very impulse that holds everything together. And so our connection with the very source of life is healing, is empowering, is clarifying. And so my specific focus on love and trying to help you understand how love is the source of all good in the world is really because it is the thing that holds everything together. And if we can just return to our understanding of love as an invigorating force, then we step outside of fear. And fear is a weapon of the enemies of life. And we become inflicted with their fear, which tears things down and is destructive and has a very natural biological place when you're standing in a field being chased by a lion. But outside of a life and death scenario, fear is not a healthy impulse unless it's in a moment and then we let it go. So love is the thing that if we stay anchored in it, really preserves, nurtures, heals, and sustains us. And that's what humanity has become so disconnected from. Firstly, that the idea of love itself has become Valentine's cards and sweeties, but the idea that it is an elemental force that is at the center of all things. Let us imagine now that we're immersed in love and we're anchored in we're rooted in love. Then love itself, the immersion in love, has to include our own self. You cannot have true love in a situation where one person is being battered and the other person is battering. That is an incomplete love. That is not love in manifestation. That is a whole bunch of other issues playing themselves out, but it's not love. It's dressed up as love and it's justified in love using that word, but that word is not it. That word is not appropriate to that scenario. So if we truly connect with love, like a tree connecting with the soil, if we stand in love and we ask ourselves often in our days, what would love do here? What would love do here? It's a very good question to ask. And I cottoned onto this phrase. I heard it somewhere, maybe a couple of decades ago. And I started trying it out, even in stressful, difficult situations. And if you stick with truth, then what love would do anyway doesn't harm you or the other person or anyone else involved. But sometimes it does. If someone's running at you with an axe, then the answer to what would love do here might be to negate the threat to my life. That may well be the answer. What would love do here? Because love ensures the continuation of life. It preserves life. It enhances life. There is no loving scenario where any group of people is being uh, advantaged over another group of people. There just isn't that. So we can ask ourselves in our lives and globally, and you zoom out, you zoom in, what would love do here? And we can see the world differently. But one thing being anchored in love really does. Much like Reiki, the practice of Reiki is one where a Reiki Master will activate within a student's energetic body a flow. So Reiki Master will activate Reiki within a human being, which will enable them to receive Reiki, and then they become a channel for that. They transmit that to somebody else. Love is like that. Love flows through us, not from us. Love, we take love in to our own selves. And then once we're filled up with it, then we then pass that on. Love overflows from us to our loved ones. Or the other way you can look at it is we can love the divine. We can love source as it's reflected in our loved one. So ultimately, our love connection, the greatest ambition of our connection with love is the love of source and source's love for us. And we can see the reflection of source in others, in nature, in the world, and we can love that reflection. But in any of those scenarios, we are involved. We are recipients of, we need to stand in love in order to do all of that, in order to participate in love with life, with the universe, with the divine. And so there is no true expression of love where we are left out of that picture. Love flows through us, it bounds all things. In the physical context, without love, life falls apart. If love is the attractive force between atoms, then without love, decay sets in. And we know that, we can see that. And there is no bias in love. Love acts universally. Love is the frequency that flows through all things. And receiving of love is equally as important. That's why the not enough stuff. That's why when we get ourselves caught up in the idea that we are not deserving, that we do not deserve, and we shut ourselves off from love, it can be so destructive, not only to our path and our growth and our healing, but to our lives in general as beings of love. Because if we are beings of love, giving love, and yet we're not receiving it because we're not good enough, we can't receive, and our receptors get clogged, see how it can become a whole thing. So if we sit in love and we receive love, just from the universe, from the world, you don't even have to associate other frail, flawed human beings in this picture. Just receive love from the world, from nature, from your surroundings. Just receive the love that is there. Create a loving connection with whatever you view source as. God, the divine, the universe. Create a loving connection there. And then self-love becomes redundant. Because as you connect in a loving way, you get filled up. You get filled up with love. When you create an intention to create a loving connection with source, it's rather like sticking a straw in a dam. You know, you're going to flow water through this little straw of yours into the dam. But what ends up happening is so much love comes back at you. So whatever your process, whatever rituals you can employ to love the divine, to love source, do it. Do it often, because that loving connection that has filled you up, it will overflow into your life, and that connection feels, that connection is beautiful, and it will fill up your life, and it will reflect back to you in everything that you do and encounter in life. You see? So love is so much bigger. Love is so much bigger picture than Northern Boone. Northern Boone is like the fire that tends the cauldron of love. Oh, so anyway, there we go. To be off my podium. It's been a long one, but I really invite you to thumb the idea of love, to really explore it for yourself outside of a romantic or familial context. Look at love differently. Understand love differently. As indigos, our impulse is to love and find expressions for that. Connect with the source of all things. Connect with nature. Love and be loved. Self-love then has no place because you are being loved. As soon as you plug in to the socket of all love, you are receiving love abundantly. Your fairies, your supporters in the next world, they love you. They flow love to you all the time. You are never without a source right nearby of love. Don't you go and cut yourself off because of some inappropriate or some frail, failed human beings. That's not the only source of love. Love comes at us at all times, and we just need to receive that. Let's understand love better, and let's harness it for a better world. Yep. And how we do that is to love always.